Welcome back to the podcast for Gaming in the Gospel. We are looking at the last full chapter of Gaming in the Gospel, but it's not the last bit of content that you're going to find in the book. And so this isn't the last episode of this season of the podcast either. And we may even have some surprises for you. My name is David Calvert. I'm here with the author, Dave Wright.
Hey, that's me.
We got to make sure that we keep his promise from last episode that there will always be a Dave on the podcast.
That's right.
And I really did appreciate the last episode. If you haven't listened to that on Chapter 7, go back and find that one currently on YouTube. It was really fun to hear you guys recap some of the playthrough convention.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I intended to go, and then my kids wanted to play outside. And so I couldn't bring myself to force them in front of screens as much as I deeply wanted to.
Yeah.
So I ended up not going. But it sounded like you guys had a great time.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We ran the Quake 3 tournament there, and this is always great connecting with people. And I had a lot of dads come by with their kids, and they would sit down and play some Quake. And and playthrough is really good for that, just to bring your kids and expose them to consoles and things that you might be connected with, and because they have arcade cabinets, they have a little bit of everything. They even have like Gran Turismo racing setups. Like they did a tournament of that. There's even a Fortnite tournament there.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and pretty much anything you can think of, there was some form of a tournament. One fun way that they get everybody involved on your badge, they give you the name of a country when you come in from Civilization 5, I believe. And what they do, they have an AI battle, like a 32 civilization battle, worldwide battle, and that auto plays.
Okay.
And whoever wins, whoever conquers the world, like whatever the computer does, like you get a prize.
Oh man! So it's totally randomized.
Yeah, just totally randomized,
awesome.
And you can watch the bots go at each other. So
that's cool. Well, that is an annual convention. So whenever you're listening to this, there will be one upcoming. So look for the playthrough convention in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah,
it'll be sometime soon, depending on
next year.
Yeah, whenever you're listening to it.
Actually, yeah, I think it's actually November sometime next year.
Yeah. So typically October, November. But just listening to you guys talk about it, and particularly with how it tied in with the content of the chapter. Like the chapter really was about doing LAN parties and being connected in person. And so you were embodying that, demonstrating that in the convention. And so, that was great timing for having Dave Klinger on. So this final chapter, and I appreciated how you guys answered the questions in the end of Chapter 7. This final chapter, Chapter 8, does not include any questions at the end. So this episode will be a hair shorter than some of the previous ones. But what I found compelling is that you found a way to squeeze even more Easter eggs in this shorter chapter than any other chapter that I can think of.
And it was my pleasure.
Okay. So it almost seems like we should have people like tally up the Easter eggs just from Chapter 8.
Yeah.
But the title is Natural 20, and then there's this, pixelated die, a 20-sided die.
Mm-hmm.
So where did this idea for this chapter title come from?
Well, if you're been any part of tabletop board games over the last 10 years, like D&D's really ramped up, Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not just Stranger Things that did that. Well, it certainly helped. And
yes.
It was Stranger Things, and then pandemic, and like people had time and be let's. Yep. And then they figured out, like, well, hey, we can play together online, and roll dice, and this, like, it really became a thing. And and I don't know about you, Dave, but like I remember growing up and like hearing Dungeons and Dragons and be like, ooh, I need to stay away from that.
Yep, totally. I was in the Adventures in Odyssey generation, and so I was told, avoid any of these ways that Satan might have a doorway into your house. And so I understand that now a little differently, having had, now that I am a parent, now that I have lived a little bit more of my life, I've seen both the realities of spiritual warfare and the overreaction to certain forms of art and fiction and gaming. And so Yeah. There's a really great podcast called The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea that CT Media has put out that recaps the Satanic Panic of the 80s. And so if you're unfamiliar with that, if you're young enough that you didn't live through this, I envy you. But you have your own things to deal with. But listen to the podcast. It'll give you a perspective on what we're kind of hinting at here.
And it's wild that we can look back at that as a historical thing that happened.
I know. We're old enough that all these things are history, and we can look at them with some sort of objectivity.
Yeah.
But that's weird. And so you then opened with this really great quote from Myst, which is, again, a game that is a huge Easter egg because it did something that I was just telling Dave before we started recording, that I don't think there's any other games that have done what Myst did in that space.
Yeah. In the early 90s, the adventure game genre was really blossoming, and it quickly peaked in late 2000.
Yeah.
Or pardon me, early 2000. And Myst was very much a part of that.
Yeah.
And I also think of like King's Quest, Roberta Williams,
sure,
doing all of the Sierra games and everything, point and click, and unfortunately, the adventure genre has now been relegated to the Walmart bargain bin.
Yeah. You're right.
The little puzzle game.
It's weird. So Myst took some of those elements of a point and click, but it turned it, 3D. Like they now had the capability, as it were, as technology developed, to do something in that 3D space. But Myst mystified me. Do you see what I did there?
I see.
Because I dropped in the very beginning. I wanted to kill people. That's what I do in a first-person shooter, right? I thought, my brain expected a FPS when I dropped into Myst. And instead, everybody's already gone, and I'm just finding puzzles. Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So now, escape rooms, right? Like, I feel like Myst was an escape room before it was a thing. But the storytelling was great. Just the way the level design, the map design, all the things were iconic. And so I appreciate that you threw that Myst quote in right at the beginning. Yeah,
and just a little bit of technical analysis for Myst. It's amazing they got all that on a CD.
Yeah.
And they even had to organize the CD in a way that, like, as far as like the first layers, the first levels start on the outer part of the disc.
Yeah.
And it goes in so that it could increase load times to load the game faster. Just so, because like apparently like the little reader starts like either on the inside. I might be reversing that. But there's some really great documentaries about Myst, and just the technical achievement that they accomplished in that is truly amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've got an emulator or a way to get at Myst on your computer, you should totally do it. But then what's funny is at the very beginning, you're like, hey, this book took a while to write because book writing is hard. And
it is.
Then you listed all the other distractions. And if you had been writing in the 90s, you would have thrown Myst in here too, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many good games that come out every year that you're like, man, I would really love to play that. And then there goes 100 hours of your life.
Yeah.
Or there's some really awesome movies that just came out. And there's 2 hours a pop of your life, plus commute time if you go to a theater. And then you mentioned Twitter, which is now X, and then you mentioned, all the other streaming services. Like, we have constant availability to distractions. And so I appreciated that you were pretty honest in this last chapter about like the struggle that it was to bring this book into fruition. As you move in, though, there is this really great prayer that you include that I think that flows out of this idea that as we get consumed by all the things that distract us, as we get caught up throwing things into the void, we sometimes need to stop and pray. And I know that for a lot of folks, we don't know what to pray sometimes. Like we feel the oughtness of it. Like, I ought to pray. I feel a certain way. I should probably pray right now, but I don't know what to pray. thankfully, the Psalms give us ways to pray. But even then, like, you pick up King James by accident and you're starting to look at the Psalms and you're like, I don't understand what this is. And so you don't know how to pray still. And so thank you, Dave, for giving us yet another like example of a very simple way to talk to God. Because even, the enemy can use even that idea that I don't know what to say to like trick us into not even praying. Which is ridiculous. But in this prayer, you say, God, I'm feeling it again. I feel the desire to escape from this world. It hurts. Forgive me for wanting to throw this thing into the void. I miss you, Jesus. Please be near and help me be satisfied in just you. Amen. So this prayer pulls from some ideas that you've talked about here in the book. So if you've read the book too, you could totally take this prayer, throw it on a backdrop on your phone, write on a Post-it note, stick it on your mirror. How did you come about kind of crystallizing this prayer in this way?
I mean, it wasn't many drafts of that. That just kind of came out as best I recall. You're bringing up Psalms, and I think about David. I'm really of the camp just like when you pray, it's okay to share your emotions. And I think God invites that to like be real with him and be like, if you got something going on, tell him, it's okay. He's big enough to take it. Even if that's anger, I just feel the emotions of that prayer again, and just like feeling that desperation. And there's been times where I've been good, and I've actually prayed that, and it has helped. So, yeah.
One of the things that you kind of hint at in that prayer is that kind of longing for the things are not like they're supposed to be. We have that sense deep inside of us, and that's part of understanding the gospel is that, there's a way the world should be, and it's not working like that. And our bodies, our spirits, our souls all together feel that, can sense that. And so you mentioned that, like, I miss you, Jesus, because if we've made a profession of faith and we're following Jesus, then we have at least experienced a little bit of his presence. We've had the Holy Spirit make our hearts alive and helped us feel God's nearness. And so to say that we miss Jesus means that we've at least experienced a little bit of it, or that we recognize that we will be with him, and we're longing for that. So there's that in-between space, which what you've pointed out so helpfully in the course of this book is that there is this potential idea that we could use called the void. Let's put a name on that space and how we constantly try to fill it with unfulfilling things. But you make a point in the subtitle of this chapter, and then it kind of snuck in a paragraph, that the reality is we were meant to traverse the void. So what do you mean by that, and what are you hoping for us to pick up from that in this last chapter?
Man. Yeah, there's a great quote by John Piper. He talks about that the cross is the center of God's glory. And as I was thinking about the void, thinking about like there's a reason you're looking across it. There's a reason you're drawn to look into the void, is because there's a light on the other side. It might be dim and just like, what is that? It's drawing me. It's pulling me. And when we take those steps into the void, it hurts, it scares us, and we run back and we throw things in. And we, as human beings, we love to worship things. We will worship anything that comes our way, any shiny thing that we find along the way, any distraction. We're like, ooh, what's that? What's that? Ooh, what's that? And that's like, we are made to worship. And the cross is over there beckoning us. Just like that glory is just drawing us. Just like I'm made for that. That's where I need to be. And as we get into this chapter more, just talking about taking those first steps into the void and how terrifying it is, and how it cuts at our flesh, and how it reveals the work that Christ is doing in us, that he's making us like him.
Yeah.
And we're coming, and just the more that you step into the void, take a step after step, walking in faith, following the light of the cross, you find your way. And it's a journey, and it hurts, but it's so good.
Yeah. So you make it plain, how do we game in the gospel? Pursue Christ with every part of our being. And so for us who are gamers, that means allowing God to use this desire he's put in us to keep drawing us to himself, which can totally happen. And that's what we've been talking about, and all the positive connotations of gaming that we've drawn out through the course of the book and the course of this podcast, highlighted even in last episode of when we game together, when we are with other people. That is how one of the beautiful ways that God can speak to us through other people, that we can speak to other people and love them, that we can be encouraged, that we can bear the fruit of the Spirit. We can show joy and love and peace when we're together. And gaming is a prime opportunity to do that, even when it's virtual through the interwebs, even when it's limited by time and space. There are ways that gaming does serve us in becoming more and more like Christ. Part of what we've been focusing on, though, is that, like you mentioned, the swapping of worship. If we go in with with an idol in the place that God should be, then we're going to be totally throwing things into the void to try to appease our insatiable appetites. But when God himself is in the proper place, when we seek first the kingdom of God, all these other things will be added unto us. And Jesus straight up says that, and yet we forget so often. There are some key points that you make throughout this last chapter, just again driving home the so what's of this book. And the last couple things are also kind of Easter egg-y. You have this huge quote of God, show me your glory. And what I love about that, when Moses says, I want to see your face, when we say, God, we want to see you, we don't even know what we're asking.
Yeah, we don't.
Like, it might not be straight up Raiders of the Lost Ark opening the Ark of the Covenant face melting, but close. And that's literally what God says to Moses. Like, you don't know what you're asking. I gotta hide you. You can't even look at me.
I gotta put you in a cave and put my hand over the cave. Yeah,
like otherwise, this could not go well for you, because of sin, because of brokenness. And so, now that we have been given a way to cross the void, now that Jesus has done the work that we can't do and couldn't do, we can begin to see glimpses of God's glory. That's what Jesus is. Jesus is the revelation of God, and he gives us that glimpse that we need to know how to get across the void. Especially when we see him high and lifted up on the cross. And so your very last quote is a reminder that he is worth a look. Looking to Jesus is worth it. And then you say, big time. What? And then you footnote it. And I asked Dave, I was like, what Easter egg am I missing here? And this is a deep cut.
Yeah, well, it's just deep cut for me. It's for my friend Tim Keeler, wherever you are. Hopefully you're getting to listen to this, but that's for you, because you would walk around saying big time all the time. So we would always have inside jokes, just like, you're going to write a book, you're just going to end it with big time.
That's good. You didn't end Sound in the Gospel that way, did you?
Maybe I'll do that in a revision.
All right, so since we don't have any questions for ourselves to answer, there's no evaluation questions at the end of this chapter, we're just going to remind ourselves of the main points of chapters 1 through 8. And then next episode, we're going to hit the meta story and finish up some of the content that we have. Because if you're holding your copy of the book and you look at chapter 8 and you're like, wait, this is only page 136, there's still 50 pages in here. What's going on? We'll talk about that next episode. But in the very beginning of this book, we start out with this idea of overindulgence, and we are trying to be honest with ourselves about what we are doing as gamers. Then we move into out of time units, where we focus on the idea of time, specifically passing time or killing time. Hopefully, as you have listened to this podcast and engaged with the book, this has not been just killing time for you.
Yeah, I hope not, yeah.
But instead, you are choosing to pass this time with something that edifies you, helps you see Jesus more clearly, and even think of ways to engage with gaming more intentionally. Chapter 3, we come to the edge, and we are encountering the void idea for the first time.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about the void a bit today, but the void is this bottomless chasm that we feel the need to traverse, but we don't know how to. And so we begin to just try to fill it up with things that might give us something to stand on. And so we find meaning or purpose maybe in gaming, or in relationships, or in popularity, or in success, or in any number of things. And for those of us who are gamers, a lot of that is we found a lot of purpose and value in entertainment things. We love talking about Star Wars. We love engaging with books or movies or podcasts or whatever the case may be. But as you identify in the void, we're just chucking things in, waiting to hear it hit the bottom, and it never does.
Never does.
The next chapter, Knee Deep in the Dead, reminds us of the potential to be addicted to happiness.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can, instead of finding deep joy in God through the gospel, we are trying to constantly find happiness that fades, which is connected to the idea of like we're throwing things in the void and they disappear. But we still find something new and shiny.
Yep.
The next chapter, I have a bad feeling about this, reminded us of this idea that you also trademarked called Insta-Canyons. The idea that we have these canyons that get formed in our minds, connecting certain behaviors, connecting certain feelings and ideas. And the more we traverse the canyon, the deeper it gets.
Yep.
But it doesn't take much to form it, and thus Insta-Canyon. And so for a lot of us, the Insta-Canyons that we've formed can drive us very much into the content of chapter 6. The content of chapter 6 being the dark side. Unfortunately, not Sith, even darker than that, the connection of gaming and porn. And so for those of us, again, who have had those Insta-Canyons formed, it can be brutal to walk through that. So hopefully you listen to that chapter, and if you are a parent, you have some ways to now talk with your kids about the connections between gaming and other kinds of addiction, in particular porn. And there is a resource section in the back of this book, both for how do I stop and then some recommended books. So please take a moment to check that out if you have any of these things resonate with you. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to email us and follow up so that we can be in touch to be an encouragement. And that's why chapter 7 is intentionally an encouragement chapter to follow up after chapter 6.
Indeed.
And you guys just talked about this last time, the circle of trust, the community that we have when we're throwing our LAN parties, and the labels that we sometimes slap on ourselves or feel put on us by other people, when the only labels that matter are the ones that God gives to us. And so that was a really helpful set of categories as well. So all the way through the book, hopefully you've been given some handles for these concepts that you could think through as you score yourself then at the end of each chapter. And so next episode, we'll talk about how to tally that final score and use it in terms of the metagame. And then, this last chapter was a reminder that we are made to traverse the void. Not to just stand on the edge and long for the other side, not to just keep throwing things in, but to take that leap of faith, to take the steps following after Jesus, and we'll be able to enjoy things along the way, even the things that are hard, have moments of joy woven in if we're following Jesus.
Yep. Yeah, and listener, I hope as you've been listening to this podcast and reading the book that you're rapidly realizing that this book isn't just about gaming. It's about all the distractions and things that we throw into the void, from our smartphone to books to money to jobs. Just like it can be anything. And I really pray and hope that you're starting to see just like how essentially kind of worthless those things can be. That it's just, you're needing water. You're needing a connection to Jesus. You're needing the living water from him. And when we throw those things into the void, it's just, we're drinking sand. It's just like your water pouch is just filled with sand and you're just chugging it down, thinking that's like, oh, this is what I need. And
that's nightmare material right there.
It is. But I think that's kind of the reality. Well, I speaking for myself, like I've been there. That's like, oh, this is what I need. And it's like, this is not. Yep. So, and it hurts you. And,
I was listening to a song recently that, the artist makes the statement that who needs luggage in paradise? And when you get to
that's good,
an all-inclusive, paradise space, what do you need your bags for? What do you need to bring a bunch of things with you for? And so when we see Jesus, when we are satisfied by him, when we have healthy relationships with our own heart and with other people, what stuff do we need?
Yeah.
What baggage do we need to bring with us?
Man. I think I want to take us back to the 80s for a second.
Okay.
And I know that's perfectly okay on this podcast.
For the two of us, yes. If you're a baby listening, I'm sorry.
But
you might have to
going back to the Satanic Panic and thinking about Dungeons and Dragons and why there was such a reaction to that. This is evil. Because you would have friends and kids, they go into the basement and they just disappear and then play this thing for hours and hours and hours upon end, once a week, multiple times a week. And just like, parents were getting nervous because like my kids are disappearing.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know what they're doing. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons, it's got spells. It's got all these things.
Yeah.
They're rolling dice. The thing is, Dungeons and Dragons was a good game. It had the best graphics in the world because it was in your head. Just like you're using your imagination and you're spending time with friends, and that's a good time.
Yep.
And the thing is, like with video games now, just like there's still really good games out there. It's just like D&D was a good game design and it drew us in. It was a shiny thing, and games do that. Games draw us in. They give us kind of like how science fiction is just like telling a story of a grander vision, just like there's a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Video games give us a chance to experience that, to escape from this world for a moment and to be something else. And that's addicting because it's good game design.
Yeah.
And so I know this really hoping to land the plane. I'm just like, it's more than just gaming, just like anything can become the thing. And I hope you guys are getting a greater vision of that now and seeing some of that glory that you're made for, and that you will begin taking those first steps into the void and pursuing Christ, taking up your cross and asking yourself some of these very hard questions. And I really pray that you grow because of it. So, yeah, I'm going to land the plane here with a classic joke, classic D&D joke. But I just want you guys to remember that Jesus saves. And he takes half damage. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out the book Gaming in the Gospel on Amazon. Available on Kindle and audiobook. Gaming in the Gospel is produced by Evan Staley with Staley Media. Audio recorded in the Nebthos bunker by Magic Dave. Published by Nebthos. Welcome home, travelers.